What is up, my love? Welcome to my channel. Today we are talking all about how to stop comparing your body to the dancers next to you. Welcome in. If you are new to my channel, my name is Taylor Behringer. I am a body acceptance coach for women identifying dancers, and what I do is I help women identifying dancers make peace with and love their bodies. Before we begin this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below because every single week I post a new video on the topic of how to create a supportive, loving, peaceful relationship with your body as you pursue your dance career. Now, let's get started in today's video. A little disclaimer here, if you hear some background noise, there is some background noise happening outside my window because, my partner is fixing my car out there. Gotta have a car to drive. So real human life videos aren't always perfect. Just a little warning there. I'm so excited to get into this topic today. We are talking all about how to stop comparing your body to the other women identifying dancers next to you. And I know for me, this is something that I have struggled with for literally most of my life. I can remember even walking into the dance studio, even as a little girl, looking around, just comparing myself all of the time. And the way that I look at it is that this is a learned behavior that we learn in order to protect ourselves from potentially not being enough. And so, for so many of us, this is a learned behavior that we learn so young, not only because many of us become dancers at a really young age and we get submerged in this atmosphere of auditioning and competition, etc., with the women next to us, and naturally just begin to compare our bodies, but also because of society and because of patriarchy. And we could go into this all day. um, I'm probably going to make a separate video all about that topic, but my point here is that this is a behavior that runs in most of us who identify as women so deeply. And what it is a protective mechanism, essentially. Comparing our bodies to the other women next to us is a protective mechanism because what we are doing is we are gauging our competition. And we are gauging our competition because we are scared that there is not enough space for all of us. And one of the things that I remember learning as a dancer is that there is no room for everyone, that there has to be competition, that in order to get the part or in order to be picked into that one spot, right? There's only one spot and there's a million women auditioning or whatever it is. You have to show up perfect. And so we look around the room constantly, searching to see if we are perfect enough or if we are more perfect than the others who identify as women next to us, right? And what I have learned through doing this healing work around my relationship with my body is that that is simply a belief. That is a learned belief. That is a learned protective mechanism that doesn't have to be true. And yes, we are involved, we work, we pursue a dance industry that requires us to audition, that requires spots, that requires us to be placed in different positions, right? But the way that we see each other and the way that we feel about ourselves in the presence of each other doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to make you feel like you are not enough. And it doesn't have to, and we don't have to make each other feel like we're enough. And what this really is a perception shift from I am not enough, so therefore she must not be enough. But one of us has to be better than the other. But neither one of us will ever be enough, right? Neither one of us will ever be enough. We will constantly be judging ourselves, and then we'll constantly be judging each other. Right? None of us will ever be enough. That's the root belief that hooks us, that gets us stuck in comparing our bodies to the ones next to us. But the perception twist that we get to have is that I am innately enough. And because I am innately enough, that means you are innately enough. And that means she is innately enough. And that means we all are innately enough. And our worth is not based on our physical bodies. And our worth is not based on how well we take the class or we do the audition or we show up that day. Our worth is who we are. It's on the inside. And our worth is not determined by anything outside of us. It's just by simply seeing ourselves. And so that's the perception shift that we get to have. And I know what you're thinking. Okay, cool. Well, that's like awesome, Taylor, but like, how do we have that perception shift? How do we go from comparing our bodies and constantly in that state of survival mode? Because essentially that's what it is. When we're comparing our bodies to the women next to us, that's essentially what it is we are in survival mode. Because ultimately, we are not just fearing not getting the part or not getting chosen. We are fearing not getting accepted. And we are fearing not getting the love that we desire. And we're ultimately fearing not being safe, right? Because if we don't have a job, we're not going to make the money. And that means we're not safe. Or if we don't get the job, we're not going to receive the love and attention that we truly desire and need as human beings. And so that means that makes us feel not safe, right? And so there is this survival mechanism that we are hooked into, and it's really important that we become aware of that and we honor the truth, the fact that that is what is happening. And it's not just, we're not doing these things for no reason, right? We're not judging each other for no reason. It's because we've lived in a system, we lived in a society that has taught us that this is the way, this is how we have to survive. But what we get to do is we get to choose to not just survive, we get to choose to thrive. And to truly thrive, we get to be in community with each other. We are created to be in community with each other, to be in partnership with each other, not to be against each other. And so thriving means that. And thriving means choosing being in partnership with each other. So the question is how? How do we do that? I have 2 steps to how to stop comparing your body to the other women identifying dancers next to you to give to you today. So these 2 steps are probably 2 steps that maybe you haven't heard before. And so I invite you to really listen to these next 2 steps with your heart open. And I invite you to feel what these permission slips, because really what these steps are is permission slips, right? To shift and change the way that you perceive yourself and other women. Really take these permission slips and see if you can feel how they make you feel inside of your body, and if they give you just a little bit more freedom to show up as your authentic self in the presence of other women. And really, that's the goal here, right? Before we get into the steps, I actually want to tell you what the goal gets to be, what we get to have as humans, as women. That is, instead of constantly feeling like we have to show up to class or show up to dance spaces or even show up to freaking life with masks on our face, perfectionism, right? Showing up feeling like we have to show up perfect all of the time when we are in the presence of others who identify as women. right? And again, going back to that is the belief that we carry because that's what we've been taught, that there is only one spot available and there's so many women trying to get that spot. In order to get that spot, we have to show up perfect because there's not enough space for all of us, and there is also not enough space for all of us as individuals to be human, right? That's what we've been taught, that there's not enough space for us to be human, for our needs to take up space in the dance space, for our humanness to take up space in the dance space, for our skin to take up space in the dance space, for our our menstrual cycles, right, to take up space in the dance space, right? Are the days where we don't quite feel 110% to take up space as humans living in bodies that have uteruses, right? Or maybe you don't have a uterus, but you identify with the feminine, and we go through cycles. As women, we go through cycles. And these cycles are inside of our bodies. These cycles are, we get to rest, we get to replenish, we get to listen to our bodies, we get to be intuitive. We get to move our bodies, we get to push, and we get to take action, but then we also get to go back in and rest. Like, we go through cycles. That's why we have menstrual cycles, some of us. And we've been taught that these human things don't belong, we don't have space for them in the dance industry, and that is not true. That is not true. And these beliefs, these rules, these containers are only there because we're not doing anything about them, because we're showing up to the dance spaces believing that there's not enough space for all of us. But if we can shift our own beliefs and we can show up to dance spaces believing that we are innately enough and that all of us gets to be here, and no matter what, all of us is there, we are all there showing up authentically, vulnerably, then everything shifts. And so that's the goal, to be able to show up in spaces, in dance spaces and in life, with others who identify as women, not perfect, vulnerable, feeling connected to our bodies, even on the days where our bodies aren't up to the standards, right? Connected into our bodies, not disowning our bodies, present in our bodies, and being able to show up in that authentic, free space in the presence of others who identify as women. That's freaking freedom, man. All right, so what's the how? I have 2 steps for you today. Step number 1 is called self to self healing. Self to self healing is when we can, instead of searching for validation outside of ourselves, right? Because that's where so much of the comparison comes from, is that we are searching for validation from dance teachers, producers, choreographers, lovers, etc., right? We're constantly searching for that validation, and we think that there's only one space available, that there's not enough space for all of us. And so we're waiting for that outside validation to tell us that we're enough, but we think that that outside validation is only going to tell one of us that we're enough, and so the pressure is on, right? And that is literally like keeping us so stuck and distant from our power. Because when we can show up in validation of our own selves and feeling enough inside of our own bodies without needing validation from anybody else or anything else, we then step into our own power. And we then begin to cultivate dance spaces that welcome our power. And when I say being in our power, what I mean is feeling confident, feeling enough, not feeling like we have to deny our needs, our physical, spiritual, emotional, whatever that is, needs in order to be a dancer. And so when we can begin to validate our own selves, then the comparison loses its grip because it no longer matters. What she's doing over there no longer matters when you can see yourself, right? When you can see yourself. And so, how do we see ourselves? It's a constant practice. And something that you can do to practice this, like a tangible way that you can practice this, is every single day setting the timer for like 2 minutes, even 1 minute. It doesn't even have to be long. Closing your eyes, taking a deep breath in, letting the exhale take you into your body, and just practice feeling what is going on inside of yourself. Really seeing what is going on inside of yourself, seeing how you feel, seeing your desires, seeing what makes you you. Really just practicing seeing everything that makes you you, and noticing that there are so many things that makes you you, not just your physical body, right? And when you're seeing those things, practicing seeing them without judging them. And again, it's a practice. That's a practice. And using this practice as a sense of validation of you seeing yourself. And so, step number 2, to stop comparing your body to the other women identifying dancers next to you, is something I like to call self to other healing, or community healing, and also community healing. And also, I totally forgot to mention this before I started talking about all of these steps, but something I want to mention and give credit to is that these steps don't just come from me. Yes, I'm speaking from my own experiences and my own wisdom and my own intuition. Um, but I have learned some of these things from other mentors and other healers, and so it's really important to me to give them credit as well where credit is due. And so these 2 steps come from my mentor, Samantha Skelly. You can check her out. I'll link her below. She's who I've gotten many of my certifications through. Absolutely incredible healer, all the things. But want to give credit where credit is due. And anyway, so step number 2 is called self to other and community healing. And so essentially what self to other healing is getting with somebody, whether it's a friend, a coach or mentor, a trusted dance teacher, somebody who you know can hold a safe container for you and who will love you unconditionally and who will see you unconditionally. Someone who you know can do that. Practicing on a regular basis, sitting with them, talking to them, being with them, and practicing being vulnerable in the presence of the container that they're holding for you, and allowing them to really hold you in that vulnerability, allowing them to really see you in that vulnerability. Because oftentimes we show up to dance spaces in the presence of other women identifying dancers, and we think we have to be perfect because our vulnerability, our humanness, is not enough and is going to get judged by the others in the room. But if we can sit in the presence of somebody who can hold the opposite of that and who can hold a safe space for us when we're in our vulnerability, what we are doing is we're reteaching our nervous system and our body that it's safe to be vulnerable in the presence of other human beings. We're literally reteaching our bodies. It's magical how our bodies can adapt. And when we create safe containers, they can adapt to freedom. Because right now, they're in survival mode. They've adapted to needing to survive these conditions for their whole lives, really. And so, how can we put ourselves in more spaces that support us deeper and can retrain our nervous systems and our bodies that it's safe to be vulnerable and it's safe to be here in the presence of other humans? And then, when we can start doing that, our nervous system and actually our configuration of our cells and our configuration of the way that our survival patterns are inside of us. Like our survival patterns will actually release and heal. Our traumas will actually release and heal when we practice this, right? It's really magical. Connection with ourselves and other human beings is the best medicine that there is. And when we can do that on a regular basis, we can then show up to other spaces that may or may not be as supportive as those spaces and still feel connected to ourselves and safe. And be able to determine whether we want to stay in that space or leave the space and have the internal power to make that decision and follow through. Because we trust ourselves, because we know that we're safe to be in our bodies and trust our bodies. And then community healing. Community healing is the same thing, just with more people. So think like a really safe dance class. I work with an organization called the Dance Safe, and what we do essentially is we help survivors of abuse in the dance industry. And so we help by creating really safe spaces for all of them, all of the dancers to feel seen and heard and to do healing work. And so I say this because there are these spaces out there. There are spaces out there to support you in this healing. There's communities out there to support you in this healing. I am actually starting one for myself if you feel called to be a part of it. And I'll be telling you all about it later, but for now, I'll just give you a little hint because we are talking about community healing. I will be starting a group program in the next couple months, so be on the lookout for that. And this is a real opportunity for you to learn how to stop comparing your body and be in a container that literally is medicine to your body, to your brain, and to your nervous system, and that will reconfigure how all of that works together in order for you to feel safe, seen, heard, supported by yourself and by dance and by your body and by other human beings. So if you want more information on that, send me a message and be on the lookout for that. You can also join my email list to get updates and sales when that does come out. And there's going to be a really, really good sale on that. Just plug in that for you so you can get your hands on that if you desire to be a part of it. But what I really want you to get out of this video is that we are the medicine to the problems that we've created. Really, we are the medicine. And so if we think about stopping comparing ourselves to other bodies, we are the solution. And all we have to do is begin to see and validate ourselves and then choose to be in spaces that actually support us and really be intentional about how we feel inside of our bodies when we are in the presence of other human beings, other women identifying dancers. Cool. I would love to hear how this went for you. So if you do try these, I would love to hear how this went for you. And if you are wondering how you can start doing this work when it comes to self to other healing, know that I have containers for you to hold you in this. And also, if you're wondering, how do I start doing self to self healing? How do I start learning to validate myself and feel enough in my body just in myself? I've actually created a free breathwork meditation for you, and breathwork is a modality that I am certified in. It has completely changed my relationship with my body. It's a modality that I use with my clients. I need to make a full video about what breathwork is, and I'm going to do that soon. But in the meantime, if you're wondering what it is, all of the information is going to be linked below with the free breathwork meditation and this breathwork meditation is all about accepting your body and being able to really see yourself and feel safe and enough inside of your body. So go get your hands on that. It's totally free and it's so freaking transformational. You're gonna feel so different after just doing this audio. And just remember, like, you are the medicine. Like, you don't need anything outside of yourself. All you need is to go within and do the healing work from within. See and heal and feel yourself, connect with yourself, relearn, remember that you are safe to be inside of your body and nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can take that. Maybe for a minute they can, right? When we've experienced traumas or experiences that have brought us into survival patterns. But we always have the ability to reclaim that connection to ourselves. And so loving your body and feeling enough inside of your body is 150% available to you. All you have to do is commit to yourself. So go get that meditation because it's so good, and let me know how it goes for you. I am gonna go because this video is really long. Hit the subscribe button to receive all of the updates on when new videos come out every single Monday at 8 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I will see you later. I love you so much.